Greetings, nerds. This is CNN Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you, too.
Yeah.
We're getting close to Halloween.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Have you got a costume picked out yet?
You act like I celebrate Halloween.
I don't know. I know right before we started recording, we were like talking about Squid Game and how it's the easy go-to costume for 2021.
It's still too much effort. It may be easy, but it's still too much effort for me to go after the Squid Game.
Yeah.
Which we cannot talk about because Will has not finished. I have finished it, along with you, season 3. So, Will, I finished Squid Games. I finished You, season 3. Have I watched a single episode of a third season of Succession? No.
I know.
It's a weird time right now.
It's a weird time. Weird times, folks. I mean, whenever Sarah told me that, and even this morning, I think I got a message from you that your plans on Succession. I was just like, I was like, what happened to Sarah Belmont? Because, Billions and Successions is like the two shows that I figured that was like appointment. That was truly appointment TV for you.
It still is, but I haven't gotten, and I don't get the feeling that by waiting, I am going to get spoiled. That's the beauty of these types of shows. With the shows we normally talk about, like chances are you gotta watch it or else it's gonna get spoiled, and it's really easy. Squid Games almost got spoiled for me. Pretty much did get spoiled for me, but anyway, that's another rant. Before we get into the TV shows tonight, we do have a few things to talk about. There was a big announcement by Disney this week, a massive MCU 2022 film release schedule shakeup. And the big leading one was the fact that we're not going to get Doctor Strange 2 in March. And on the rundown, Will asks if the mouse blinked. Here's my theory, Will.
Okay.
We should be grateful for the mouse because he just confirmed, he or she, well, it's a he because there's Minnie Mouse. Anyway, he just confirmed for us that the Batman will be as good as we think it's going to be. Because don't forget, in 2016, there was another showdown between DC and Marvel. Yeah. It was Batman v Superman versus Captain America Civil War. And the MCU were like, oh, hell no, we get May. You guys go run away.
Yeah, yeah.
And they did because they knew that Batman v Superman was trash. So.
Yeah, I think as with this news, a lot of people are like, well, nobody would think that, and if I will never admit it. I mean, because whenever they had the Eternals premiere this past, I think it was Tuesday night, he chalked it up, or maybe it was Monday night, but he chalked it up to, well, production delays, obviously due to COVID, and also just, I think, things getting behind, and also with the potential with the IATSE, the whole issues with the cruise, that strike happened, and it was, they had the deadline they did avert the strike and creating a deal, but I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty with the various trade guilds for film and theater and television companies, so. So those factors definitely, I think, weighed into it as well. But you're right. I mean, he would never ever openly admit that we don't want to be trying to go up against the Batman.
Well, I think that it's also just very strategic because Doctor Strange 2 has also just been confirmed as being a very important movie for the MCU.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's not one where he wants to split the audience, split the earnings. He wants it to have its moment, and for a bigger period than if it was sharing a month of March, which with the Batman. Right. And I think overall, just, I mean, between this year's fandom and last year's fandom, the Batman trailers just stole the day both times. And it's just a massive, something massive is coming. I mean, Warner Brothers may be a little bit of a fucked up company, but the Batman may be like that bright light in the sky for them. So.
Yeah, I mean, they doubled the viewership for fandom this year. It was like 66 million worldwide. So, and everybody was there for that trailer. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, heck, they even pushed off a couple news items and trade trailers, like for example the Flash TV show season 8. I mean, they didn't even bother putting it on because they knew it would just completely get lost in the Batman. But but I think you're right too, and the space is I think important thing because I think Warner Brothers and other film companies are going to go back to at least a 45-day release window moving forward. So this way Batman will have his free reign in the theater. Also, looking at the date with May with Doctor Strange 2, I mean that's when we've gotten the big Avenger films in May. And so that's been traditional time that Marvel drops their big kickoff of the summer film. So there's that piece of it as well, and then and then all the other films as far as Thor and Black Panther 2, the Marvels, and Ant-Man 3. I mean, they basically get slid to the right, I guess, a month or two as far as their original release dates versus their now current ones, and assuming that if production holds and post-production doesn't get delayed, they will air then. And I think those spots, I think Feige also said that they were already release date spots they had anyway. So it is basically shifted everything to the right just to give, honestly, to give the productions more time to get these things right. And I think that's a good thing. And it's not like where we were last year, where we went a year and a half without a Marvel product. I mean, so we've been spoiled in 2021. So I think at the end of the day, we'll all be happy because we'll have a great DC film, hopefully with the Batman, and then we'll go right into May with Doctor Strange 2, and Spider-Man is still on track for December. So.
Yeah, but more importantly, Eternals will drop next month. Early reviews are out there. Personally, Will, I don't want to talk about early reviews of the Eternals because I don't want anyone to temper my expectations. Yeah.
I think overall, I hear you. Most of them that I did see were positive, and I won't. And there is a spoiler out there, and I'm not going to say what it is. And because
is it about Harry Styles?
I'm gonna put that on the cutting room floor.
What? That was all over Twitter.
I know, but there's some people who don't follow this stuff, closely.
Hey, if you don't follow this stuff, then I don't know why you're listening to it.
True. Yeah. Well, our listeners probably are aware of that particular thing, but that's why I said spoiler, so that way people can jump ahead a few seconds if they need to. It's so
weird to me that he's going to be in the MCU, but stranger things have happened. We also got an announcement that Rick Cosnett, Eddie Thawne, will return to The Flash this season. Haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, Eddie is back, and apparently I think it's going to be a flashback. I know a lot of fans, especially fans of the comic, were hoping that Eddie would come back as, say, a Cobalt Blue, adapt that storyline into the TV show, but from what I've read about it, it's just some flashbacks to, I guess, back to some things from season 1, and they've done this before with Eddie. I think in season maybe 3. So
the Flash always reuses its old tricks.
Yeah. So, but if we'll see what they do with it. I will say I thought the sizzle reel trailer that they dropped this week. teasing Armageddon. It did what it needed to do. Got me a little bit excited about this upcoming season. Hopefully, crossovers tend to be, or is
they
one of
either
the
work or they don't.
yeah, they either work or they don't, and hopefully this one works.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, the one trailer we have to talk about tonight, Will has not seen.
Nope, I have not.
I think it's hilarious. But I have watched this, and it's the Uncharted trailer, which dropped earlier today, starring Mark Wahlberg, and Tom Holland, our Spider-Man. Tom Holland. Okay. I will never not see Peter Parker watching one of his
typecast much.
It's so hard. I will say the trailer is fun.
Okay.
The trailer reminds me of a lot of a Fast and Furious movie. It's an adventure action movie. I thought the comedy in it was good. I didn't have any issue with the jokes. The action sequences reminded me a lot of Aquaman, frankly. I'll put that out there. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen that Aquaman trailer or even the movie. Yep. But overall, it's something I would probably not go to the theater to watch, but I would definitely check it out on Netflix or a streaming service.
Cool. Yeah. I just didn't get around to that one today. I guess I was tied up and obsessing with another news story we'll talk about here in a bit. But yeah, the one thing I did see about the Uncharted, I think a lot of folks, I saw Nathan Fillion trending for a bit, and I guess he done a short Uncharted film sometime back. But that was my extent of that. But I'll definitely check that trailer out. And I think there was another trailer. I think the one with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds.
Well, the rundown is done.
I know. Yeah, I know. It's just rando stuff. Yeah, I know. That's the trailer. Yeah.
Because you've been going back. Okay, this is gonna be Will's section because Will knows where I stand on this. This whole thing, Ruby Rose, out of nowhere, just comes out with these allegations and just talking all of this stuff about her co-stars and I think Berlanti, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she named. Yeah. She name dropped Berlanti. She name dropped Caroline Dries. Sarah Schlachter, and then as far as her co-stars, Doré, Scott, and Camrus, and it was just like boom.
Yeah, she just, and it was really weird because her exit happened. There was a lot of speculation. 2020 happened. We get season 2 of Batwoman. Don't really hear anything from her. And then out of nowhere, right when season 3 is kicking off, she just comes out with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And what was really interesting was when Camrus spoke out against her and was talking about how, okay, let's call spade a spade. You got fired.
Yep.
You were the hostile one. Yeah. So we're never gonna know the full truth, but we'll take it away.
All right. Yeah. So you set it up pretty. Yeah. You set it up well. She starts. So she goes on Instagram. I'm sure a lot of you have read them, and I won't rehash all of it. But she wants to clear the air, which is very interesting because she basically led to the company. Stuck to the line before that she was overwhelmed and stuff. I think on Jimmy Kimmel Fallon, I think about earlier this year, about leaving the show. So yeah, so I think they actually with the IATSE labor issues, I think maybe gave her maybe her non-disclosure expired or maybe she was just inspired by that and Ray Fisher and other things. But yeah, she dropped this stuff on Instagram and with the premise of wanting to clear the air and and sort of what happened to her on the set and others who were injured, which I do remember the PA injury, I think, happening right before, everything shut down for the pandemic. The fire incident to me was just sort of like, whoa, I have not seen that anywhere. I mean, at all. And because something like that, I mean, for example, when major incidents happen, like for example, the tragedy that just happened that was reported earlier this evening on the Alec Baldwin set, where the prop gun like misfired and a person was killed. That stuff, you hear about that kind of thing. It's not something you can just wipe under the rug. So the thing with the 3rd-degree burns, I was like, where did this happen? Even Titans, and the show that we were going to talk about later this evening, they had a stunt incident go wrong. And you hear about these things. So I don't know where she was getting that from. But so she just went scorched earth on it. And then Warner Brothers were like, we're not fucking around. They just came back and just like, well, we tried to be nice, but since you went there, we're going to go there. And they were like, basically just unloaded on her as far as in their statement that, they had investigated her allegations of misconduct on the set by her. And then there was another, and then of course, Cameras tweeted late last night, it's hard to be fired as the lead of the show. Yeah. That's just something that doesn't happen. Right. So, and that was part of the quote from his tweet, and how the crew and stuff are very happy and everybody's working well. And then a production assistant today released a statement about their interactions with Ruby Rose on the set, and they put their name to it, as that she was very difficult and treated rank and file crew on the set very badly, and gave some specific examples of that. So I think one of our listeners shared a great tweet that said, there's her truth, there's Warner Brothers truth, and there's the third truth, which is probably when you think about it, all these things that are out there are everybody has validity to some of these things that happen. No one's going to come out of this looking great. And I think that's the thing about this. And it is very unfortunate, because it seems that, the show, this theme, and, this third season so far has started off pretty strong, and everybody was just kind of moving on. And then for now, after all this time, to drag this up, and then just, especially when he said, oh yeah, I would go back. And then now Ruby saying, no, you couldn't force me with a gun to my head, blah, 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 to go back. It just, it just seems, I'm just trying to figure out what does she hope to gain from this, other than just maybe, getting all her stands, or be like, yeah, Ruby, I stand with Ruby Rose, and all the, people like me is sort of like, well, you're not making yourself look any better here. Yes, those things did happen, and it's unfortunate that people did get hurt on the set, but no one comes out of this looking good.
Yeah. So what did you think about this week's episode of Batwoman?
I thought it was okay. I mean, I think there were some standout moments, I thought, particularly the relationship, as we talked about last week, between Ryan and Alice. Mm-hmm. That they just, Javicia and Rachel just have great chemistry. They play so well off each other. Yeah. I mean, it just becomes, it is very apparent. And the thing that really stood out with me with this particular episode was Alice and the little girl who Killer Croc had abducted. And when she encountered, whenever earlier in the episode, Alice was telling Ryan, look, I was that little girl. No one came and looked for me. No one cared about me. But then when the moment of truth happened, where Alice could have rescued her and really if she truly had been redeemed, as they what took us on that weird like redemption arc last season. It showed that no, Alice at her core is a killer, and she doesn't. Even though she told this young girl like, hey, the best piece of advice I can give you is, look out for yourself. No one's going to rescue you, or no one's going to come be there for you.
Right. Alice is a very complicated character, and I like how in this episode they use that because the villain is very one-dimensional. It was a nice twist when they added the father element to it, especially knowing last week where Alice was with her own relationship with her dad, and then you have that counterpoint to Ryan's newfound mom and their feelings. So I think that was good, and I like the fact that they have that card about Alice, and we spent so much time with her and understanding how she became who she is now, that there's a vulnerability there. And if she's going to remain a part of this show, a fixture in the show, it's important for Ryan to understand that or see a potential redemption. I don't know if that's the plan this season. If by the end of it she does feel like Alice is worth saving, I don't know how you get there. Yeah. But there must be some sort of end game for this arc. But yeah, it wasn't a bad episode. It wasn't an overly great episode. I'm trying to figure out what I feel as though, the writers are playing a lot of cards real quickly. Yes, that was another thing. And I don't know why, and it's kind of refreshing because last season, I don't know what it was. I was like, Jesus Christ, why is it so slow? Yeah, you're right. I was thinking that very thing too. I was like, wow, they just like jumped to like, we're going to go ahead and just put it out there. Ryan, this is your mom, and Ryan's going to go confront her birth mother. I thought that. I was like, woo, they are not messing around with the timing. No. But I always like a good Mary episode. And Mary had a smaller part in this episode than comparison with last week, but she had an important part because the Curtis and Mary ship is sailing again. Yeah. It's full steam ahead. Yep. It's happening this season. It's been a while since I've been on this ship. I remember it well. I'm very happy about it. Yeah. I do like the twist at the end with that, with the suit and the removing the failsafe, remove the AI. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I like that. I like that as well. That basically, and also I think really speaks to them, with Luke and his psychological PTSD from all the things that happened. I think that was a smart way to show his imperfections, and also why it was a good way to like show why, like you said, why the suit was failing on him, not because it was anything physical. It was just all in his head. Yeah, well, I remember it's been so long since that episode aired with him being shot that I had forgotten about it, but it took only a few sentences to remind us of what happened to him last season. And also how angry he was about being brought back because he was finally interacting with his dad again. So I think that they're going to explore that a bit more. I'm excited for that. Yeah. The only thing that's bothering me is what the heck is Sophie doing? Yeah. First of all, does she have a job? What is her job? How does she earn money? Is she on the team? Is she not on the team? Is she part of Wayne Enterprise? Like, what is she doing? So she's she I think her official title was counselor to the acting CEO of Wayne Enterprises.
because that's what she's doing this season.
Yeah, I think she should have just been acting. But all right, so that's it for this week with Batwoman. Surprisingly, Will, I'm just full of surprises this week.
Yeah.
I had to watch Batwoman and Titans right before we recorded. I actually watched Titans first.
Oh, wow, you are full of surprises.
Get the pain over with. The Titans season 3 finale happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I know before
you would enjoy it.
Well, and it's something you made while we were talking before we recorded. Something that I said that you wanted me to bookmark for our conversation, and I shared with you how I had gotten not 1 but 2 weeks behind on Titans because I was traveling for work last week, and then what I think we were watching Doom Patrol, and it just didn't get to it before. So I watched episode 11 Monday, the other one last night, and then the finale tonight. And I'm always, folks who listen to us for a while know how my stance on binging. And I was telling you before we recorded that I think the reason why I like the finale and stuff is because I did basically a binge of the last few episodes, and this series actually I think works better if you do watch it back to back instead of having a week separation.
Right. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about how I really liked the first 3 episodes. They dropped the first 3 episodes on one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I binged the first 2 and then wrapped up the third one the following night. And so I agree. I think that this show, season 4, we might have to experiment, and depending on when it drops and everything, potentially doing a binge of it at the very end, because I just, there's something about the pacing, the way these character arcs work, where having a week break, it just dilutes everything for me. Yeah. And the villain was awful this year. I really hated the villain. I expected more from Starfire and Blackfire. I'm not mad at what happened to them. I'm glad that they became friends and Blackfire is able to return home and her and Connor hooked up. But going into the season, I expected more from that rivalry. And so I'm kind of disappointed that it kind of just ended. I thought it was funny how Dick and Barbara just called it quits.
Yep.
And she's suddenly free from jail. And, oh, yeah, Argus is here. Roy Harper's Argus. I don't know. It's just, there's something about this show where it's so predictable. It's so freaking predictable. It just bothers me.
Yeah, well, and I think that's, like I said, because the Blackfire, Starfire stuff, since I watched it, everything in succession, and you're right. I think that's why out of the gate, this season started felt like it was such a strong start, and it was a strong start. But I think it was because we had those 3, especially episode 3 with when we lost Hawk, how just very powerful, well-paced episodes, and then things just kind of bogged down in the middle to the point where I was just like, okay, I'm so ready. I was, I kind of like, okay, I'll get to it when I get to it. And that's how I ended up like realizing I was like, oh yeah, I'm a few weeks behind. But then when I watched the last 3 together, I was like, I felt that it was a very good closing out arc for this season. But I will say with the finale, you're right. It seemed like there was. I put in my notes as I was watching it that it was like, damn, this is like the Bat Family Easter egg. Like, drop this. I mean, it was like Argus. We got. I mean, they were just. They
have to do all of their name drops before they get out of Gotham.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was just so many like little Easter eggs dropped during that finale. And Ra's al Ghul with the Lazarus Pits, and I mean, I know that was a few episodes earlier, especially with penultimate with Dick being resurrected through the Lazarus Pit, but there was, so there was that. But the Argus twist, I was okay with it. We've had the Arrowverse version of Argus. We've had now the Suicide Squad and DCEU. So it was only a matter of time before we got it on the HBO Max DC shows. And it was the way they introduced it and showing how Speedy is head. Is part of that organization now, which was a nice tie-in. It worked for the story, given that GCPD was so corrupt. So I thought that was a good way to introduce them into the series this way. But there's some good fight sequences. Like always. I mean, I will say the fight choreography in the show is pretty dope. And for yeah. Well, I mean, it's not Shang-Chi. I mean, no, but. Yeah, but it's not it's not Legends of Tomorrow either. So
you don't even watch Legends of Tomorrow.
I know. I have watched
on shows we watch.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's not Flash choreography then. Either.
Okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for.
So, but yeah, it was. Yeah, I thought. Yeah, we got Red Hood. We got closure with Jason and Bruce.
Why didn't he go back to the girl?
I don't know. That's one of those hanging threads. Because I mean, basically, the way they set things up with Jason is he's gonna end up in San Francisco.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why he didn't go back to the girl. But that's what they should have done to make it more of a mystery. And also another hanging thread: we still don't get anything about this whole Donna comes back to life and instantly saves Bruce. Are you freaking kidding me, writers? Okay.
Yeah.
I need closure for that sequence.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, Will. And if I binge this season, which I would never do, I would still be like, okay, this sequence does not make any sense.
No. I'm still, I thought about it. I did go back and rewatch, and you're right. It just seemed, and then maybe it goes back to the earlier seasons because Bruce and Donna just were so adversarial, and the lack of trust that that this was the least likely person that we would think that would save Bruce is the one who actually did save him from himself when he tried to commit suicide.
No, I'm not buying it. It doesn't make sense. Tim Drake is now officially on the team as Robin,
Yep.
which I think is another funny thing because there's a moment in this episode where his parents are just like, Gotham needs you. The city needs you. Mm-hmm. And he's accepted on Titans. And the first thing they do is they go on a road trip back home to San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, he's got to get training,
Good job, Tim.
I will say this though, Britton Thwaites, the man his American accent just kills me every time. I mean, how he has turned, because we watch him in interviews. I was watching, Fandom, and then I think he was doing an Instagram takeover today, and I just have to clap because he switches so well. I mean, it's really well.
I'm not as impressed because so many British and Australian actors do that so well.
Yeah, I know, but
I mean, you're right. It's a really good one. It's really good. But I don't know. I feel as though British and Australian actors can do the American accent better than some Americans.
Yeah, they totally can. There's no doubt there. Because it's like for sure. But but like I said, the show was renewed. We got that news in DC Fandom for season 4. I mean, I guess they are setting up for Ra's al Ghul to be the villain next season.
God, when has Ra's al Ghul ever added anything to these series? I mean, let's not forget Arrow season 3, guys.
Yeah. I mean,
Arrow season 3 worked for me for obvious reasons, but
right.
It's why are we going back to this well? Pun intended. Why? Why? Okay. Well, on that note, that's a wrap for Titan season 3. See you next year for season 4. And Stargirl.
Yeah.
This is the penultimate episode, right?
Let's see. I believe so. Let's see. I think is it 13 episodes or 14 episodes? Let me check while you start.
Okay.
While you set it up. Yeah.
Okay. See, when I expect Will to know things, but
yeah, I'm normally on top of it, but I want to say I think
they
finished
very much like a penultimate episode.
I think they have 2 episodes left. I want to say the finale is the November 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
This episode is fine. I actually, and I kind of called it when we were talking about fandom on Sunday night, is that I think the trailer was better than the actual episode. Because you kind of knew what was going on. There was no moments that really stuck out to me as, ooh, that's fascinating, and that's going to lead into this big end game plan for the overall show. It's just, for some reason, it felt as though we left things here. We need to get here, and we need to make sure Courtney is like makes these connections to what's going on. So she's lost in the Shadowlands with Sydney and Dr. Midnight, who she both encounters. And because we met Jenny returned at the end of last week's episode. Go figure, it's her ring that's able to find the shade, who is able to open the doorway and kind of have a redemption of his own. He ends up sacrificing himself to get everyone out of the Shadowverse. Again, as always, Stargirl episodes work really well for me when Sydney and Courtney have moments together.
Yeah.
They are very good adversaries because Sydney, like Alice, has this ability where you hate her. She has done a lot of crappy stuff, but she will never let you forget that she was made into this. She wasn't born this way.
Yeah.
And you find all of that, and I really liked the moment where she tells what's his face?
Oh, the Dragon King?
Eclipso.
Okay.
She's not afraid of her dad, and then oh honey, we know you're not afraid of your dad. Here's your mom who you killed, and all of that guilt resurfaces. Great moment, very well acted.
Yep.
And you can see Courtney start to realize that Sydney, you can't put into that box entirely, because she's a kid too, and things can't be black and white. I mean, that's not how the world works. So
right. Yeah.
I think it was an important story for Courtney, but overall, I think there's been better episodes this season.
Yeah, I would agree that. So I would agree with you there. I think there have been better episodes. I will still to date. This is probably in the top 3 or 4 episodes for me for this season, though. But go back to the finale question. It is November 2nd. This was episode 11, so there's 2 left.
Okay.
Yeah, but getting this week's show, so what really worked for me was the magnificent use of the limitations of the pandemic and how to use that to their favor as far as filming with the black and white and using existing sets. The callback to the family from the first season, the magician.
Yep.
Yeah, and just how like, it was like, okay, we remember what happened to that kid in the first season, and the magician, and and just really, how Eclipso just kept hammering how Courtney has just ruined people's lives, and then how Eclipso twists Courtney's feelings or whatever into making it, the Shadowverse Barbara, like saying having a kid ruined my life, and and trying to use, and Courtney's obsession with thinking Starman was her father in the first season. So all those like callbacks, this show does a great job and really shows the why Eclipso is such a dangerous adversary, by using all those bits of fear and anger and regret and using that to his advantage.
Yeah.
And of course in Cindy's case, it worked. She embraced the darkness. And this was a very important moment, like you were saying, for Courtney, because the world is shades of gray and it's not black and white. And so, choosing that filming choice to make this episode a black and white episode, as far as how Courtney's worldview is, and making her realize that, like you said, life is shades of gray.
Mm-hmm. I wish that they wouldn't have brought up the dad stuff. Because that, I feel like they keep playing that card almost to a detriment, because I really like Barbara's perspective.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that perspective in a while, that resentment, that anger, that frustration of being a single mom with a daughter who's only worried about her dad because he's not around. And I thought that was a good angle. And I was like, oh, good, they're not going to play the dad. Oh, they just. Oh,
they did that. True. Yeah.
But that's just a small nitpick.
Yeah. It's a small nitpick. Yeah, for sure. But I think, I know they there was shades of season 1, going, no pun intended. There, but yeah, but I think it was important just to show how, again, teaching Courtney, especially moving forward, and especially as how the lies and deceptions and everything have broken apart the new JSA, how it broke apart the old JSA. But I think this will be by showing Courtney this, and Courtney finding herself to realize that, hey, life is not all black and white, will help the team come back together when it's go time in the finale to take down Eclipso.
Yeah. I see. There's a reason why I thought this was a penultimate episode, and because it touched on not only Courtney's what she'll need to do to defeat Eclipso, but also it touched on a lot of character beats that happened throughout this entire season. I mean, you brought up the musician reappearing in his family, which reminded me a lot of, I think it was episode 3, where we focused on Artemis and her parents.
Yep.
And there's that moment that I think just for some reason stands out to me the most, is where she's standing with Pat and asking, why does she feel bad all of a sudden? Because I think in that moment, that's the fear that Eclipso tapped into to bring back the musician family and be like, you didn't just destroy one family, you've destroyed a few families. And we know she was doing the right thing, but there were ramifications for it.
Right.
And then at the same time, he talked about where Yolanda was after this experience, where Rick is after this experience. And so it very much felt like we have moved all of our players on the board.
Yep.
Next week will be Endgame, but I guess they have a few more cards they want to play before they get there. So
yeah, and I have to say they have a few more cards they have to play. I think to your point about Barbara and seeing that element of her as far as in the Shadowverse, but also in Blue Valley, in the normal world, how, you know, Courtney means everything to her and she'll do anything for it. And using that relationship between Barbara and the Shade, and the Shade seeing a lot of the Shade sister's qualities in Barbara.
Right.
And how that helped him, even though he went through that theater as a way to rejuvenate, but also thinking of his sister and their relationship, and how he drew strength from Barbara to be able to open that portal so that Courtney could get out, and then Courtney just doing what true heroes do. And I think it was important, even though it's a very obvious thing to do, but I think it was an important thing for them to do, to show Courtney's growth, and also to show a clear, unambiguous thing that she has embraced the hero, was to, and the double down on the contrast between her and Cindy was for her to go back and get Cindy. I mean, yes, it was a very obvious story point. We knew that was going to happen, but I think I think they carried off a very obvious story point in a way that was effective and really sets up the penultimate for next week, and then ultimately the end game, as far as what makes it plausible for Cindy to be like Alice, like we were talking about earlier, and assist. But at the end of the day, Courtney and Cindy are going to be foils. And yeah, she saved her, but Courtney has a marker, that she can call in on her one day, and maybe this helping to defeat Eclipso is that marker. Right.
Absolutely. All right. On that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Will M. Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me on Twitter at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at CNN Nerd, friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. And our website is at www.cnnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, geek out. You're welcome.